could. We could.
Who cares about viability?
Or
Do it for the content. Okay. That's not techies, but Witch Doctor, okay. Certainly a hero that Wildcard can work with. A little bit of just about everything. Lockdown, you got some teamfight strength in there. Voodoo Restoration, I mean, technically is a little bit of extra longevity. I don't know how often it becomes massively relevant, but it is going to be there, that's for sure. And now you've got a hero in the Witch Doctor who can maybe combine forces with the Snapfire and the Mars a little bit, because the Maledict makes the Snap-Mars duo that little bit tougher if you can actually get it out there. It does require the full rotation in from the Witch Doctor, but if they could pull it off, they have more options against, well, heroes like the Tidehunter who are a little bit tankier, although we'll have to see how the Kraken Shell sort of keeps them alive. As for Zoomers, looking like they're grabbing their Gunner hero, grabbing the Ember Spirit for themselves. So you said, ET, you wanted to see him on a Spirit. You are going to get your wish.
Yeah, it's not Storm Spirit, but I'll be content with the Ember, especially because, and it feels like 4-Zoomers somehow always are able to navigate this in their drafts. They pick a Spirit, and Wildcard don't really have that much lockdown. They have Witch Doctor Snapfire, then not to mention that Mars, it doesn't really help all that much either. It's why sometimes when we see the Mars versus Ember Spirit matchup come out, they literally stick the Mars versus the Ember Spirit, just because that lane is kind of good for Mars, and you can get a Yule Scepter in fast enough time that you might be able to actually catch the Ember before it's too late. Problem is, more often than not, the Ember Spirit just kind of walks away with everything. In such a free game, I'm definitely a little bit concerned for what Wildcard are actually able to do here. And the hero that was banned out in Game 1, they picked Skywrath Mage. That's really interesting. Well, that's your Z-Freak hero for sure.
And, well, you sacrifice a lot of mobility with the Skywrath compared to the heroes we saw Wildcard sort of ban out there. So that is going to be maybe a little bit of your good news. The bad news, though, is the Skywrath, he hits hard at multiple stages in the game. So you took care of some problematic heroes, but Z-Freak's got a wide enough pool where there's always going to be someone that you have to worry about. And obviously for the core heroes, it's going to be an issue maybe dealing with the slow and the silence. But if the Skywrath is free to focus on someone like the Snap or the Witch Doctor with some of that lockdown, then they just basically don't exist in these fights.
No, it's going to be incredibly problematic, of course. At the same time, you've got no lockdown on 4-Zoomers. You've got Chains and you've got Ravage. You're very, very light in that regard. That is really interesting. Okay. Well, Dead Ringer here, S takes the Mars, Divide takes the Viper. They could do either. Both of those players are actually known for both of those heroes. I think Esk is one of the few Vipers still left in the game. Of course, that hero has definitely seen its heyday in previous patches, but is that what you really want to do here, guys? Do you want to just play Viper versus Gunner Ember mid? I mean, Gunner's probably upset if that's the case. That's kind of dirty, but at the same time, it'll do. And it is one of the few, again, we talk about Tidehunter, we talk about persistent spells, we talk about breaks, and that's exactly what Viper will do here. I just feel like now, maybe you want a little bit more lockdown. Maybe you're going to want someone who's actually able to kind of pin this Tide down, because otherwise your setup is looking a little bit light here for Wildcard. But sure, the puddles are going to be thrown around, and 4-Zoomers, they don't have a very dynamic draft so far aside from the Ember Spirit. So the Viper is kind of a good stonewall that you're going to have to kind of play against. Still going to see which position it goes in, but I do, albeit, kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it a little bit, I kind of feel like the Viper mid is going to be maybe better for them than the Mars mid. Mars in that sort of 2 role is something that always kind of personally makes me a little bit nervous. We have seen so much from that hero in the middle lane be massively hit or miss compared to the off lane role where you're asking for less of him, but that means you're going to get maybe a more stable floor in terms of that performance. So we'll see what they choose. Meanwhile, for Zoomers, busting out the Chaos Knight. Gustafele sort of getting the chance to maybe bring that hero back a little bit. So I think himself and really Hector on Beast Coast were the ones who were still trying to keep the CK alive over the last patch or two. And, you know, you busted out occasionally, but it was far from popular. But for Zoomers with the chance, and it gives them that little bit, maybe a little bit of lockdown that you were talking about, honestly, for both sides, but for 4-Zoomers in particular. Now you have someone who can get the stun, close the gap, going to be a bit more durable. And speaking of more durable, the Troll Warlord out for Wildcard as well.
No, I'm very excited. And like you said, Costa Bile, one of the last CKs still around. Of course, we'll have to see what he goes for if we see an Aether Lens, perhaps picked up by him, just because that's the funky build. That's the Ag Shard funky build that everybody loves. And with it being unlocked at 15 minutes now, maybe it'll be slightly more impactful. Price didn't change, though. Just the timing did. Of course, these carry players and these pro players are so farmed at these stages of the game. It always felt like they were maybe a little bit ahead of that 20-minute timer. It definitely felt like more of a limiter in a lot of those games. But that's also where the troll coming through is interesting, because that's again a dead hero. That's someone you didn't see for a very, very long time. And of course, I mentioned the Ursa as someone they could pick up versus the Tidehunter. It almost works in the same way, I want to say, in that matchup, in that lane matchup specifically. The only thing I'm concerned about is, of course, are you going to get kited? How are you going to deal with this Ember Spirit? What are you going to do once the lanes finally start to break down here? I do like the troll versus the illusions, though, versus Costa Bile. And especially, as I mentioned between us, the phase now being granted to Trollora during his ulti. He's not going to get body blocked. He's going to be able to run through and hopefully get on the targets he actually wants to find in a lot of these fights. And if he can make himself a big enough target, we might see 4 Zoomers run out of firepower. And that's where they need to be very cautious with what spells they're using on which targets. Because if they do run out, Wildcard are definitely a little bit tankier, I want to say, just inherently. And that's where Viper loves to play.
Yeah, that was one of the most strangely sort of irritating aspects of the Troll Warlord, right? In terms of what sort of knocked him out of viability that little bit more. It wasn't really an issue. Well, okay, it kind of was. It wasn't that the main issue was with his kit. It's just you ult and you can run into the back of your teammate and all of a sudden your big bad ult is just you getting constantly body blocked by a buddy unless he gets out of your way preemptively. It was just kind of weird to see a troll pop ult and then not get to where he wanted to go. So we'll see. I mean, it's a minor change to the ability, but it's a big change in terms of how it might allow Yamsun now to play, knowing he's actually going to be able to, 9 times out of 10, actually reach the target he wants.
Yeah, and I also am excited. It is going to be the Esk Viper. Of course, every time I get excited about a matchup, though, that Gunner's in, Gunner always proves the matchup, you know, again, more even than it has any business being. And I think Ember versus Viper, no, there's no shot. Esk is just going to bop him, but I've also seen Gunner solo kill people with Brewmaster at level 1, so, you know, anything goes.
That's always the thing, right? You just throw your hands up in the air and say it's Gunner. He might win despite all the odds sort of being against him. So makes it a little bit hard to make that call, but Esk should have a pretty solid time here, at least in the laning stage. A Z-Freak, that's a problem. Slowed up, stunned up, poisoned, and okay. Said Esk was going to have a relatively solid time. That's going to work out. He gets first blood in his pocket. Did he take that rune? Or, excuse me, not the rune, the ward down. Yes, he did. So, a little bit of vision taken away. First kill of the game in his hands. And now this mid matchup is going to not necessarily swing in his favor off of just that one kill, but Esk is going to have that little bit of an advantage that he might be able to leverage further.
Yeah, and he also did a really good job there. Having Gunner take all of those creeps underneath tower just means that, unfortunately for him, the wave is completely out of his control. At the very least, when he placed that sentry during almost his death rattle there, he was able to unblock the small camp for Gunner, so he can farm in there eventually, but at the same time, they're trying to limit the Ember Spirit already with what tools he has, and I completely agree with it. Don't let him run away with the lane. Don't let him find other means of farm, because if he has to lane versus the Viper, you lose versus the Viper.
He's just getting pushed back. Hit level 2. Unfortunately, a point in the Flame Guard really isn't going to do him as much good as you would normally expect. He does take the point anyway, because the alternative is Bolas, but it's going to be a problem. That shield is not going to last him as long as it would in any other matchup, as Devi... little out of position there, but he's able to TP himself back home, so... that was a bit of a strange one, but this brings us to this point. Husky on the support Nature's Prophet. Just look at him push forward, trying to be, honestly, as obnoxious as humanly possible, right? Keep Devi and Alexo back, just hit him up with any damage possible. Let this Chaos Knight do what he's doing. Sit here, hit creeps, Maybe you need to throw a Chaos Bolt out every once in a while, but it's not really a concern. Costabile doesn't have to care right now.
Yeah, and really, this is the safest time in the lane for Husky to be doing this. Once you have level 2, level 3, then suddenly everything becomes a lot more dangerous if you're playing as aggressive as he is, but he's doing a really good job posturing, and Costabile not going for the boots first, he's just getting his Helm of Iron Will as soon as he can, and I imagine he's going to sync that up with Husky using all of his mana, so that way they just get the most efficiency out of this lane. As Nature's Prophet, it's another benefit. You TP home, you TP back to the lane. You never run out of regen, more or less. You just have so much available to you.
Husky even getting the creep pull off here, so get the wave over to the side. Alexo, yeah, this is really what you just have to do. Try and come over and disrupt that as much as possible. As over on the other side of the map, what's going on there? Sammy, well, he got chased down a little bit. Moo, he has put a point up in the Gush early on, just in case they have the opportunity for that double slow. And I mean, the Witch Doctor doesn't have a whole lot in the way of maneuverability. If they do get the position onto him, he may not be able to last very long, but Sammy just sort of having to step back. But again, like the last game, we see that position 4 player in this dire off lane. He just makes the rotation into the jungle and steals that rune away.
Yeah, and that's where we might see a shift, a heavy shift actually, in 5 heroes and 5 play, because I think we're going to get to a point in Dota where you need a 5 who's comfortable leaving his tier 1 tower. All of the 5s that have been picked today and even earlier today, they are bred to stay next to their teammate, to be in the lane, to be around this bottom area or top area, and then not really be that dynamic. But I could definitely see a resurgence in heroes, I want to say the puppy-esque heroes, where it's like you have this Brewmaster with the Windlace who is not just a ranged hero finding trades. He's actually able to run and kind of cause that same level of interference, and that might be where Dota's heading. Who knows?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things develop. Obviously, first day of the patch, we're not going to get anything concrete just yet, but there's always that potential. And speaking of potential, Z-Freak, he kind of wants to go mid, but Gunnar, well, doesn't really have a whole lot to work with. He had 2 points up in the Sleight of Fist. That would have been a nice bit of extra damage, but without the root from the Bolas, chasing after your Viper really wasn't going to work out there. But he's at least able to get over, help secure the water rune. That's going to be more and more important with the, with the changes to the spawns on the bounty runes, with the changes to the bottle as well. So more and more emphasis.
Eska's walking back to base. He is actually, I don't want to say lost, but because of not having that bounty rune to just immediately get, it gives Gunnar kind of a free break, just having the last bottle charge just in his favor. And of course, he will get back to lane pretty quick, but level-wise, I honestly don't think Gunnar is too upset with where he's at.
This is a little bit strange, but Esk felt he was forced into that situation, didn't want to stick it out mid without that regen, so it's not going to cost him too massively. He still hits level 6 in pretty solid time, and before his opponent does. But question with the Viper, what does he now do with this? Especially considering he TP'd back mid to save on time, now doesn't have that TP available to help out other lanes. So the Viper Strike is there, yeah, but he's not going to be able to immediately throw it out onto anybody in the meantime. Look at 4 Zoomers. They're just going to push their way onto the Troll. They actually push him out from under his own tower. And they will take him down. Yamsun will fall, and now, yeah, Sam, there's really nowhere to go here. Taking him down as well. Moo gets the kill, and there's your Husky Nature's Prophet. TP's in, turns a 2v2 into a 3v2, and they knew that Viper wasn't coming, so they are so confident to push for that kill.
Yeah, and you could not have asked for a more perfect timing. During the cart, they double glyph, they're trying to defend it, but the Yamsun, he needs to be careful even. This is a very large-scale fight, and of course, Zoomers are not looking too hot mana-wise, but the focus is not really even on the kills at this point. It's just the tower damage, and this tower has just been beaten to death.
500 HP remaining, and the Siege Creep's actually still going to get a shot or two off, so that tower very much in a sort of takeable range for 4 Zoomers in the near future. We're only 6 or 7 minutes in, so we could look to make some plays further down bot, but for now, Z-Freak, he's rotating away from the bottom lane, but there's really nothing he can do. He needs to wait until that mana actually gets back up for himself. So Makes his way into the jungle. Is he just gonna... Yeah, he's just gonna stack up here. So, looking for some relatively smaller plays to help out his buddies. And now with the clarity going, this is where we might see some renewed aggression. But the aggression is actually coming out from the other side. It's Wildcard who are looking for a kill onto Mu in the bottom lane. They're going to be able to keep the Maledict on him long enough to get the kill. Yeah, Mu taken down. Yamsun gets a little bit of revenge with his first kill of the game.
Yeah. And honestly, something that we haven't seen really up until now, but here, I'll talk about that in a sec.
Yes.
Oh.
That's an interesting play from Husky. He tried for the block rather than the trap, and I think they're still... Yeah, okay. They're still going to get the kill. So, not much changing because of that Sprout. They get the kill. Gunnar, very wisely, backed off really the second that he pushed in with the Remnant so that Alexo couldn't follow it up, and... Well, support rotations coming in handy for Four Zoomers, trying to put pressure on in the early stages. So far, I mean, they are giving up a little bit as well. 2 kills on the board for Wildcard, but for the most part, when they try to make those plays happen, it's working out relatively well for them.
Yeah, and you also look over at Four Zoomers Triangle. This is very pretty. This is exactly what you want to see. It's something that Costabile maybe himself won't farm, but you give it over to the Tidehunter, and then suddenly Mu is unkillable. It's what he loves to do, and
Gunnar's going Yamsun. Not the troll.
He's killed his ulti.
He has no point in the... Doesn't have any bolas to throw out here, so they're not going to actually have lockdown unless Mu wants to throw the ult, but this is turning into a massive fight. Look at all the heroes who have rotated in. It's all 5 for the Wildcard side. The Ravage, though, catches on to 4 of them. Sammy should be taken down fairly quickly. Esk now on the outside of the arena trying to fight his way in, but Yamsun, holy crap, he doesn't need much help. Just turns around, didn't even pop the ult. He was just able to fight his way through both Z-Freak and Gunnar. And all of a sudden, this is turned. They've got 4 kills. The Mortimer Kisses are coming in. Long-range shots connecting for that damage. And Esk will get the double. They take Costabile down, and they spotted the stacks. This is an absolute disaster for Four Zoomers. They've lost really everything that they spent the last 8 minutes setting up for.
Yeah, that's actually perfect. They get everything they want, and I think that Ravage was perfect. It hit 4 heroes. It was exactly what they needed, but the arena was even better from Devi. It had displaced 3 heroes. You had that Nether Toxin down. Mu felt very thin there. He wasn't able to actually really be that tanky Tidehunter we all know him to be. Without anything like a Hood of Defiance already picked up, then he does just kind of die. And I think that's where Four Zoomers maybe got a little bit ahead of themselves. Losing Costabile was just the cherry on top, though. That was incredibly unfortunate.
He just shows up a little bit too late to the fight, and you get caught in that horrible position where you're not close enough to contribute, but too far to back off as Sammy thought he was okay in the 1v1 against the Skywrath Mage. The ult flies through from Husky, and it is going to force him to back off, but he gets away. Husky even TP'd into the lane afterwards, seeing if he could sort of follow that up, but no such luck. The Witch Doctor is able to walk away, and now... Well, now if you're Four Zoomers, maybe you take a step back. That team fight went pretty horribly for you, and Costabile is, at this point, still farming. He's fallen behind Esk and Yamsun, though, so maybe more incentive to just kind of pump the brakes a little bit. Try and get that first item up, get that armlet completed, then you can look and see if there's opportunities, but without the armlet, your CK just doesn't fight.
No, yeah, and finally has it, finally able to maybe do something here, but until he hits level 12, really, the CKs don't want to do anything with their teammates. They want to just get the free objectives, they just want to get the easy stuff, and say that as they smoke up here, but they're going in blind. These are all Radiant wards here coming into the bottom lane, so this is a little bit risky for sure. And will it even hit? They would love to get Yamsun here.
Yamsun doesn't have mana for ult.
Oh, perfect.
Gonna jump him. That Mystic Flare's a little off the mark, and that may matter, because Yamsun, well, he popped the ult, but that Sprout, look at that, just keeping him stuck in place. They'll go in for round 2 once the ult wears off, and nice play from Husky, able to just sort of bail that one out, make sure his team gets the kill, and now up in the top lane, Devi, he went for the arena, but he is taking way too much damage. Devi's going to go down. Sammy, he's trying to channel out the ult here, looking to do what he can. It's enough to take down one. But this is not looking good for Wildcard unless... No, if they could have gotten Gunnar there, maybe that salvages that fight a little bit. But as it stands, that is 4 dead across the map. And Mu is a nice kill. You add Z-Freak on top of it, but it's not going to be worth what they gave up.
No, it was definitely messy, definitely a little bit ugly, but Nah, no way. No way Gunnar goes for it. He's crazy, but
Ugh.
not that crazy.
Absolutely the right call there, but well, you never know. Maybe the bloodlust takes
Oh my
takes
goodness.
over. That's not bloodlust. That's just it's a bit of a mistake. Divide nicely done. Keeps himself behind the tree the whole time and okay,
It's so
okay,
funny.
Divide. Okay. All right.
He's so funny. He slights the small camp to try and pull the creep wave into the camp so he can farm both, and then he loses the small camp, and then he loses the creep wave, and then he gets speared and dies. It's like the most Gunner thing I've ever seen, actually.
Yeah, it's weird. Like he backs off, doesn't go in onto Alexo because he suspects that heroes are TPing in, and then when the hero actually TPs in, he still tries to make that play. A little bit greedy, but Gunner's gonna get one or two of those per game, right? And hopefully it doesn't cost them too much, as the tier 1 tower is very low. Gunner will deny it. Devi actually, he wanted to come in for that one. He was just basically charging the tier 1, but not going to be able to get it. Not going to get as much gold as they wanted, but the tower does still go down, so that could open up a play for Wildcard moving into this north side jungle a little bit, but they've got to clear out some of the opposing vision and control first. But you see Yamsun, the second that tower goes down, he's up here. He's trying to maximize that farm, working his way towards the Battle Fury build.
Mm-hmm. And once he has it, he has quite the large ancient stack really set up for him. It's going to get scouted out, though, by this Treant. Husky doing his due diligence, even though doesn't have the Claymore just yet. And I'm actually very interested to see what Ice Fire Bomb looks like. Kind of a mouthful, but that'll be kind of fun. See if maybe Yamsun himself can't even take the creeps, but we'll see. Because so far, I feel like the creeps have not been as feral as the update really made it seem. But we'll get there, I'm sure.
Yeah, a lot of changes that made them look sort of tougher to deal with, but I've not really seen that. I mean, this is our second game on the patch, so maybe over the long term we'll get some stats about, you know, the farming rate slowing down by whatever percentage, but so far it hasn't seemed to affect the play style from these carries much. They're still looking to that jungle pretty prominently for the extra farm, as Husky, yeah, not going to look for the fight, but he realizes there's got to be some detection out there. Took down 2 sentries, and now Costable is going to feel safe pushing in, looking for some of these creep camps as he works his way towards the BKB. So Costable may be realizing, I might need to get into these fights a little bit earlier than usual. BKB Armlet is certainly going to allow him to do that.
Yeah, and really, most importantly, just keeping his Chaos Strike online. Because if he just sits in that puddle, if he doesn't navigate around with this Viper, might even just be killing the Viper first, as I think Alexo. Freebie. Nice little pick. But that's also, I think, Blink Reveal on Tidehunter. That's really just showing your entire hand here. You gotta get, I think, a little bit more.
Yeah, it's not a big kill for the Blink Reveal, but you make that play into your opponent's jungle, you take the first thing that comes your way, I suppose. And the question now is, do they actually establish any sort of presence in that south side jungle as Gunner is able to sidestep the spear stun? Now, Sammy, that's not a place you want to be. Moon blinks in. There's going to be the Ravage to get the Mystic Flare down onto Esk as well. And this Viper, he's not getting out. That's the most casual initiation I've ever seen. I don't think Sammy realized how many heroes were there, and once the first domino falls, 4 Zoomers just go straight in, and they're looking for even more. They've got Alexo caught out once again. They'll take him down. Wildcard. I don't know. I don't think they could have seen that one coming. It's just one casual play onto a Witch Doctor that suddenly turns into the Blink Ravage initiation, and Esk is one step further forward than he should have been, and it costs him.
Yeah, no, it's very, very unfortunate, and now, well, the map kind of falls in place. Of course, you were able to take that agent stack on Yamsun. He's working towards a BKB of his own, but that's the problem with Troll. This always becomes the name of the game. Do you have BKB? Do you have your Sanjin Yasha? Are you going to have your Scotty? Where's the Basher? It's just a treasure trove of items that you don't really get in the quickest fashion all the time here, and your opponents are definitely not going to give you an easy one. And Husky, well, Husky might be dead, but they need to keep on finding those picks. I think they need to play a little bit more up-tempo here. Maybe even play in their opponent's tower a little bit, but this is also a good option. They need to find map objectives, and starting the Roche, this is one of the biggest benefits of Troll, is just having that fervor. He's one of the few carries who can take it really with nothing, because he really doesn't have that much farm considering, but he is going to get this Aegis.
Aegis should go into their hands, and that is going to be a pretty big pickup for them. Did want to point out for Husky, though, we were talking about the Ag Shards being available at 15, so he's got it. So he creates those greater treants. It's going to give them not a whole lot in terms of damage output, but you've got that split push potential to work with now, whereas in the previous patch, your Nature's Prophet would maybe not be quite as much of a threat to keep those lanes pushed out, at least at this stage in the game. So Wildcard, they have to be careful. They've got Aegis up on the Troll. That is fantastic for them. You see them pushing their way mid because of it, but always need to be keeping an eye on that Nature's Prophet now, even earlier than usual.
When I'm like looking over at it, the Greater Treant has more health and damage than Husky does. It's just a better Nature's Prophet at this stage of the game.
Well, also, didn't technically realize that the shard upgrade, Husky doesn't even have to be alive, technically speaking. He died there in the river, and then the trees were destroyed, and it summoned the Greater Treants. So it's kind of literal. The first two trees destroyed with Sprout turn into Greater Treants, regardless of whether Husky's actually there or even alive to do it. So when will that be relevant, you ask? Probably never, but you learn something new every day. As Devi learns he needs to get the hell out of there. Two heroes sort of collapsing onto him, and this might still be a problem. Sammy gonna get smacked around a little bit. He does fall back to the base, but this means there really is no defense for this tier 2 tower. Once the new creep wave comes up, they're gonna take it pretty easily.
Yeah, really what Wildcard's plan is now that Yamsum has his BKB is going to really dictate what happens next, because, well, Ask is still a component off of his. We could be waiting for the Viper's BKB, but then we kind of fall into a slippery slope where we just don't make a play for a very, very long time, and I think with this BKB on the Troll, you're definitely strong enough. You have Aegis, for Pete's sake. You could definitely look for something just to make your game seem a little bit easier here. But I can also feel the hesitance. You're playing into Ravage. You don't want to give up a massive team fight, because 4 Zoomers have to work for their buildings a little bit here. Of course, they have the Nature's Prophet, but
it's not really the hero. Yep, there's the Ravage. Ravage into the Mystic Flare, but Yamsum got off the BKB as well as the Rage, so he is going to try and push his way forward. Constabule might be in a little bit of trouble as well. He tries to ult his way out of it, but he just has no HP. They'll take him down. Constabule falls. Moo now really can't be here. He's tanky, but he doesn't do any damage. He's going to try and find some sort of exit strategy here. He does have a TP, and it looks like he is going to get out of there, but that's a strange one, ET. I mean, your CK, he's not weak by any means, but he still is not in a position to sort of be the only frontline hero there. Moo throws out the Ravage and then kind of fades away.
Yeah, it felt like they were trying to get the Aegis from the Troll just at the beginning of the fight, but I don't even think Gunnar was really able to supply that much damage there. And as soon as they dropped the ball on the Ravage chain stun, mainly thanks to Devi having a really good arena yet again, it just falls apart immediately. I think Devi's been doing a really good job of just always finding that connection, regardless of him not having a BKB of his own. Usually, BKB is the item you get so that way you can play versus Ravage, but Devi just continues to find his own ultimate, and it really has been changing these engagements around. And now, again, we kind of see 4 Zoomers now on the back foot, now waiting for their moment in this game.
Yeah, and as they fall back, Wildcard are going to go sort of looking, see what kind of kills they can find. Husky and Moo are both in the top lane. I don't think they see either one of them, but they're searching, and they might find the more valuable target here. Moo is in the tree line. He doesn't have Ravage. He's going to blink his way past Sammy, but he runs right into Esk. They need the vision. They need the stun now, actually, as well. Sammy's not going to get there in time, and neither's Devi. Man, Devi, he really has not been able to hit too many spears in this game. Large part of that is due to the fact that he's trying to hit an Ember Spirit, but even in that instance, you're just a half second too late to get that spear stunned down.
Yeah. And it really, a nice pick like that would have led immediately onto the tier 2, and Yamsum will still, still hit it up, still do what he can, but the glyph is very obnoxious, gonna kill his cart, and you look at the split push, you see the bottom lane, and yep, someone's got to come.
Tower is just getting absolutely hammered. It already lost over half of its HP, and that was a siege creep and greater trees. The Nature's Prophet himself wasn't even there. Husky was just sort of sitting in the trees, so you lose half, well, more than half at this point of a tier 3 tower if you're not paying attention. And meanwhile, you see Gunnar. This is a little bit awkward. He is going to run into 3. The Aegis did just time out, but that's still a 1v3. Gunnar, he may be strong, but he's not quite that strong at this point in the game.
No, definitely not in. He's also looking for a BKB, funnily enough, and with the Aegis reclaimed, sure, we might see Wildcard just go for the farming route instead, but now you look at that troll, he's got a full basher coming out. So now anyone that gets caught, even Costabile, is going to need to be very careful. And Costabile, of course, having that armlet, he's still pretty tanky, but there's no AC, there's no heart, there's not that big item yet that we're probably going to see him build up very, very soon. And without it, he is very, very susceptible to just getting killed in one battle trance.
He's working towards... looking for the Sanj right now, so, okay. Gonna give him a little bit more damage, a little bit more durability, sure, but they need to finish it off pretty quickly here. For now, though, are they gonna get any eyes on Alexo here? The Snapfire is sort of trailing behind this play, and there's the pings. I think they saw it. Yep, there's Snapfire in some trouble. TP coming in from Sammy, but far too late, and now... do they want to go? Yeah, Moo's blinking in. They're going to look for this fight. They know that there's no one here to actually back up that Witch Doctor. He TP'd in alone, and, well, 2 quick and easy kills into the supports. A tier 1 tower taken, and got some greater treants. They could try to push a little bit further. For now, though, you see them moving into the jungle, trying to take away that sort of triangle from their opponents.
Yep, and with the tower damage and no real way to get back here, you see them as well, cutting the creep waves, making sure that there's not really a rat opportunity for Wildcard, as really all 3 cores are just holding hands right now, keeping with each other on their side of the map. But at the same time, it'd be huge if they scout out this DD, but there's a treant right there, so I don't even know if they'd be able to get it in time before the deny comes out from Husky.
Oh, this is even worse than the deny. Gunner's actually going to grab it for himself, so... double damage Ember Spirit to work with, or work against in this next fight. That is problematic, and... well, really, 4 Zoomers have everything they want to try and fight right now. They've got DD, they've got Ravage back up on Moo. Costabile is in there with the Sanj, working to finish off the Halberd. So, if you're the Troll Warlord, you get Halberded, you just really don't get to participate for a while, unless you're just willing to entirely go all in, and basically have no choice but to pop your ult at some point in that fight. But 4 Zoomers looking for those tools. If they can control the troll, then their overall damage output maybe doesn't have to be as high as it otherwise would be, because other than the Troll Warlord, Wildcard really don't have a crazy amount of damage dealers right now. The Viper is not there at the moment.
No, and ooh, unlucky. The Roche does not respawn just now. This would have been a really good moment for Wildcard, as they had just placed this high ground ward here, took away a little bit of control, and a little bit of a nifty ward here, placed by 4 Zoomers. Doesn't get caught by the typical D wards, and Husky will just get the D ward immediately on the cliff, knowing it's safe. But look at the rest of 4 Zoomers.
Ooh.
The smoke and wrap.
They get the root down onto the Witch Doctor. Alexo trying to get his teammate out of trouble, but... well, it should be the Witch Doctor taken out quickly. He got the Maledict down onto the CK, but there's really not any follow-up right now. But here they come. Yamson wants in, but there's Moo hitting him up with the Ravage. The BKB hadn't been activated beforehand, but they do manage to get off the battle trance, so they're still trying to fight their way through this. Moo ends up getting taken down. But that was the ult. Without that, I don't know if the Troll really wants to go in again, especially now that his frontliner's gone, as Devi tried to push further forward, hoping to keep some of those 4 Zoomers heroes at bay. Instead, he runs into all of them, and he can't survive the 1v4. So 4 Zoomers able to turn that into a 2-for-1 trade. Moo has to sacrifice himself, but really they got a lot of what they wanted there. Costabile just finds some kills, walks away. He'll continue to farm, and well, that's sort of the scenario that you have to be careful of if you're Wildcard. If you have to pop the BKB in the battle trance prematurely, then there is no second half of that fight.
Oh, and even more importantly, with the BKB cooling down already, 20 seconds, we could see Yamsun just start hitting Roche right now, and you don't have Ravage. 90 seconds.
Mm.
You can try to be obnoxious, but that's where your spells are just that much more costly than your opponents. We're even going to see the arena up in 20 seconds, and the battle trance is also just there. So really, I don't know if they're even going to make an attempt here. It'd have to be some steal play from Gunnar, but I think this is just theirs.
Oh. Okay. So 4 Zoomers, they were able to burn some of those spells, but as you said, they're just on short enough cooldowns. Wildcard go right back in, and you still come away, you know, the 1-for-2 trade against them in that fight, but if you get Roche immediately afterwards, then I'm not going to say who cares. It's still unfortunate they lost those heroes, but it makes up for it pretty significantly. They've got 2 lives up on the Troll now. They've still got BKB and Battle Trance, so they can now immediately look for a fight.
Yeah, and there's honestly not much that 4 Zoomers are going to want to do right now. I think that they might as well split the lanes a little bit, just take a step back. Looking over at Husky, he's still the man with the most interesting item plan. He's got the Wraith Pact. Again, intrigued to see how much that's going to help out his team. It almost feels like it's been used as a pseudo Crimson Guard, maybe of days past, but just a little bit more applicable. But you can actually kill the totem that gets spawned, so I'm still waiting to really see it, to be honest, just because it feels like it might die just so quickly. But the other problem is that Ghost of Belial's illusions are dying so quickly to this cleave from the Battle Fury. I think that they really need to maybe swap up how they actually get into these fights, because unfortunately, without those illusions, Ghost of Belial is not the best hero in the game. It really is what makes his hero, and with how fast they're getting cleared out, I just think that everything is struggling a little bit too much, and it's, again, a reason why the Viper is kind of becoming very obnoxious. I think the one mistake that Esk has really felt and made in this game is just not going for the Boots of Travel, because they are getting splitted quite heavily. I think anyone with Boots of Travel in this game would really help their lineup out now, because it's always somebody has to go back.
Yeah, you're allowing the Nature's Prophet to kind of do exactly what he wants to do without anyone there to punish him. But to this point, it hasn't really stung too significantly. I mean, the split push is always there, but Wildcard have won enough fights to sort of keep themselves, for the most part, right up there with their opponents. So maybe we'll see that transition later on in the item build for Esk. Not right now, though. He's just looking for the Hurricane Pike next, but it's an option that would still be available to them. For now, though, Wildcard, I mean, they've still got this advantage. They really do want something, either a fight or a push, and it looks like the Yamsun is going to go for the latter. They should be able to get through this tier 2 tower pretty quickly. And now, well, maybe map control. Oh, God. Map control can become more of a, oh, God, I was going to say an advantage for them, but look at that. Starblade just going to push right in. Divide gets taken down pretty quickly, and they want even more. Sammy, not able to get himself away. Pulled back in by the Reality Rift, so they will find that second kill. Gunnar picked up both of them, and now they're through the Aegis. They've taken out 1 life. Sammy's going to buy back, but he is still ways away even with the TP. So Yamsun very wisely pops the BKB, TP's home, but that's a BKB charge. That's the Aegis being used, and that's Esk maybe not getting out of here. He's going to now BKB TP. They will get the cores away, but 4 Zoomers, I mean, Jesus, they see the opportunity and they just straight up pounce.
Yeah, and now they have to concede everything. They have no BKBs. They have neither of the BKBs. The only one BKB is going to be Divine respawning in 10 seconds here, and they have Ravage. There could be a very big mistake in a few moments here from Wildcard. If they show anywhere on the map feeling as strong as they were a minute ago, then they could very easily get punished here, and we could see the game shift heavily. At the same time, I think that only happens because Divide severely underestimated Costa Bele, just being able to pull him from kind of the high ground there and then just immediately get the stun. I don't think he saw that coming. He has BKB. He definitely could have reacted, but just kind of the vision advantage from 4 Zoomers played into effect there, as well as the nice little ward they placed whenever that fight did break out. But it looks like 4 Zoomers aren't going to press the issue too hard. They might decide to instead farm up, go for maybe a slight reset here as they finish off some of their items. Gunnar has a full Daedalus queued up. This is a very different Ember build.
Very, very damage-oriented for him. Still got the BKB, obviously, because he's not going 100% glass cannon. Would be a little too risky, but he wants to hit him hard, and over on the other side of things, we see the Abyssal being finished off by Yamsun, so, well, looking to take on a more and more prominent role in these fights, and I was looking at the CK. That's part of the reason why Divine might have gotten caught out there. It's the Reality Rift pull distance at 10 and the spell immunity piercing at 20. So he wasn't expecting Gosable to be able to pull him in from that far, because normally you're not going to be able to. So I don't know. He's been higher than level 10 for quite some time, so it's hard to believe that they didn't know until that exact moment. But if you're Divide, you know, maybe you forget for all of 5 seconds, and that's enough to get jumped in on. Speaking of getting jumped in on, though, they try to make a play onto Gunner, but he's immediately going to get counter-stunned. Divide has to pop the BKB. He's looking for the TP home, but he doesn't have the health. That was too much. Trying for the home run play. Instead, he strikes out in a pretty major way, because now, well, with Divide dead, the rest of Wildcard can't even really think about taking this engagement. They still need him as that front line.
Yeah, and when you feel like you should be locking off your opponents from the map, you just allot them all this initiative and all this space to play with. It's really unfortunate that that's like the second or third time that's happened in this game, because now we're back on waiting for him to respawn, more or less. I think now we might see, yep, Blink Dagger queued up by Yamsa. Now he can be his own initiator. If he can start onto the Ember, that'd be huge. And Costa be like, oh.
They're going to jump in onto the CK. The BKB does come out, though, so they're not able to finish him off just yet. Now he'll pop the Phantasm, and there's Moo blinking in. Ravage comes through. It doesn't hit S, but it hits everyone else. Okay. Is that one? Toggles the armlet with the DOT on him, so S just kind of takes him out. That's a little bit of a mismanagement there with that armlet. With the BKB active, I thought he really could have just backed off, but always trying to get that little bit extra. That time around, though, it kind of bites him in the ass as he goes back in and dies, and now this is kind of terrible. Your CK's dead with no buyback, and you used Ravage.
Yep, and Ravage, it's something that Wildcard kind of identified before already. It's the most important spell. It's the spell they need to worry about, and they don't even push in the mid lane. They see that it's way too hard, so instead they're going to go for top. The only problem is that, aside from this Paladin Sword, Yamsun does not have any natural healing. They're going to need to get it over from the Witch Doctor, but this tower is going to die real quick. Oof.
Through the tower, they're looking for the racks as well. You even got the Shredder there for some armor reduction, and this is a full lane of racks that they take off of one kill. Right, you get the CK down in the right time, in the right place, no Ravage available, and despite Forzoomer's having everyone other than that Chaos Knight up, they could not even really think about the defense.
Nope, definitely not. And honestly, now, I hate to say it, but we might see everything come back to the Roche. We might see these teams just take a step back, wait for their cooldowns. I know that Forzoomers aren't going to look for one of those big engagements right now, because they really simply can't. Husky went back for the Boots of the Bearing, just doing his job. He has so many treants now whenever he goes for it. This bottom lane is just filled to the brim with trees. And at the same time, Wildcard aren't taking the bait. They're playing this low and slow style. They're kind of just doing whatever they want. Esk has a nice, pretty bottled haste rune. Honestly, the best rune a Viper could possibly ask for. Just can actually escape a lot of the hectic circumstances he gets in, as well as picked up the Hurricane Pike, so he can force out his allies. But with the scan barely clips on the cliff here, so Forzoomers are taking a much more scared approach to walking over this high ground.
It's just, that is actually kind of impressive. He sends the greater Treants Husky to actually push out the lane. Meanwhile, the smaller Treants go from the bottom lane all the way up to the north side jungle. That's honestly just a stupid amount of scouting that he's able to get with those units, and now they're going to look for an opportunity. Devi is not in the best spot right now. The BKB is going to get him away, though. Do they want to go back in? Kosable went too far forward. He's going to try to pop the BKB, but he gets hit up by the Abyssal Blade. But now there's Moo in with the Ravage, connecting onto 3 or 4, but they still need to deal with this Troll. He's going straight in onto the Chaos Knight. Kosable will turn around. They get the root, excuse me, the silence into the disarm, but it's just not enough. Devi drops down the arena. Kosable will fall, and now it's all on Gunner to dish out the damage. He is going to do enough to take down the Mars, but I don't think he can go toe-to-toe with the Troll Warlord at this point, so Forzoomers have to back off, and Kosable still doesn't have money for his buyback, so Wildcard are going to surge in, looking for more. They take down Z-Freak. I don't really know what more they can do. They could try for the middle lane of Rax, I suppose. Yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do. Should be able to get through that fairly quickly. They can't go for the full rotation bot, as there's still towers standing. Now, this is a very bold maneuver. They get a buyback from Z-Freak. There's still no CK, but okay, you kill off Sammy. back away. I mean, they lost the melee racks though, so I don't really know how valuable that play was, but at this point, anything to try and stop the push.
Yeah, and really importantly, they have just limited their opponents to 1 racks, right? There is not going to be another split push play like this. Husky will have to fight them, but Husky getting the bottom melee racks, it's nice. It's something that they can, you know, kind of play around. The wave's going to be pushing in, but aside from that, if they get out of mid as clean as I think that they are, because they don't have BKBs right now in either core, S could just get traced, but instead, if they just walk out, especially with Yamson having blink in half a second here, this is just going to be awful for them.
Yeah, so Roll's got the blink up in 1 second. Moo has his blink now. Can he blink Anchor Smash before the troll? No. He can get in front of Esk at least, so there's something, but no one's really close enough to help him, and Moo, I don't know how far he wants to take this. He's got Husky coming in for help now. Gunner is going to join the fight as well, so, well, I thought that might get a little bit dicey if the troll was going to stick around, but as you pointed out, with no BKB available, the troll doesn't really want to get involved, so he backs away. S gets taken down, and Wildcard don't get out as cleanly as they might have liked, and now are both teams aware of the fact that Roshan is back up.
Yep, and we'll have to see if Costabile is actually able to, again, exist in these fights. It's so hard post-BKB with all of those nether toxins placed on the ground, and that really feels like his contribution. And okay, Yamson jumped.
Okay, Manta gets him away from that initial bit of lockdown. That... That's... I don't know if I would ever have the confidence to make that play. He just walked in there and then walked away. Didn't really get punished for it. 4Zoomers, maybe we're just surprised to see him there. Didn't expect that the troll would be that far forward, but now we're going to see the aggression. 4-man smoke. Husky's the trailer, quote-unquote. He can just TP in globally, but they need a fight. They're going to try to hold... Actually, not hold the Ravage. They don't have the Ravage. This is going to get a little bit awkward, but 10 seconds away. They just need to keep heroes in position as Sammy will go down, and Yamson, even with a DD, doesn't want to fully commit for that. He is looking to go in now, though, so he'll blink his way forward. Activating the BKB, but not hitting onto any actual heroes. Sablé, look at that, just baiting him in. He goes for the Abyssal onto an illusion. Now the Ravage will come through as Yamson just gets blown the hell up. He'll buy back immediately, but by the time he's back into the fight, he's already dead. Devi's gone in now as well. He doesn't have a whole lot of health to work with. He'll take down Husky, but they really do need Costabile. They have to be able to finish off this CK. Can they do it? The Chaos Knight getting rooted in place, dropped down, taken out. And now maybe this fight starts to peter out a little bit, but there are more buybacks coming through. Lama wants back in, Husky buys back as well, but the CK, again, has been spending all of his money, so he's not going to return, and I really think that means that 4Zoomers can't do anything anymore. Gunner is not enough to go against all these opposing cores by himself, and you see Moo, he's just making a mad dash for freedom, and he is not going to get away.
Oh, okay. Exciting. Exciting till the end there. Esk actually accidentally purged him with the poison attack before he got the nether toxin down, so he leads him on way longer than I think they had any right to, but this is Roche. They don't have a wave towards bottom. This shouldn't matter unless they try to go for the GG, and...
Oh, Gunner! He's in! He's in, he got it, he leaves the cheese behind, but who cares? He got what he wanted, and... Ooh. Yamson... Bit of a mistake trying to shift the items around there. That's a BKB being used, so that is not ideal. Now,
no,
if you're Wildcard, do they still do this? They probably suspect at this point. Oh, holy crap, Yamson. Okay, I was gonna ask if they still do this. He's on to the tier 4s, and 4Zoomers, they kind of have to do something. Gunner's gonna push in. Sleight of Fists coming out. A little bit of damage being done. That's going to push Wildcard away, so they weren't fully committing for that tier 4 push. Just wanted to force out any extra resources that they could, and they got Moo's buyback.
Yeah, that's the type of game we're in now. Anybody dies, and we could be seeing a swing in either direction now. Both teams, again, having the racks already taken, have an easy victory. If any of these waves aren't dealt with, then suddenly you could see that huge swing. And unfortunately, Gunner only got the Aegis. If he got the other stuff, then he'd just be a king. But At the same time, getting the Aegis is still incredibly important because there's just not that confidence now. There's not that easy push in. And especially having all of their buybacks expended, yeah, 4 Zoomers are the ones that want to get aggressive here because they find the Troll, they find the Viper. The game is just so much more incredibly difficult for Wildcard to hold that they might not be able to handle it, to be honest. And at this point, Costabile as well, he wants some kills to kind of get his buyback of his own because he doesn't want to just sit and farm right now. He wants to slay, and they kind of have every right to do so because Husky's got the waves. That's the biggest benefit of having this Natures. You're just always just kind of like, okay, we're going to smoke and run past everything, and we don't feel like we're making a mistake here because the waves are kind of being dealt with by themselves here with the ultimate, with the Treants, just everything.
Yeah. In the meantime, Gunnar really is leaning into the Sleight of Fist, into that physical damage. We saw him get the the Daedalus earlier. He's got a Battle Fury now and the 2 Sleight of Fist charge talent. So, I mean, he's throwing magic damage out the window here. It is all about that physical damage, and well, considering the lineup he's going against, that could be big. Esk especially. If the Viper isn't able to really be that tanky, if the durability from the magic resistance doesn't do him any good against physical damage from Gunnar, then you can take that Viper out of the equation, and once he's gone, the rest of the lineup can breathe that little bit easier as well. So, to be careful. If Gunnar is on top of you, the damage is going to be just honestly terrifying. And in terms of damage as well, I did want to check in on that. Zefreak got himself an E-Blade. So, talked about this no longer being sort of the Agi hero item. Skywrath Mage picks one up, and Skywrath might just straight up have solo kill potential now with that E-Blade.
I mean, he was already doing so much damage before. I think really most importantly, any Ravage that lands now could be a kill. It could be just an instant 100-0. Even though you are splitting your damage, right? You have to choose between the Flare or the Slights, but yeah, the Courier.
So Gunnar couldn't hit it because they popped the invulnerability. Husky then TP'd onto it to take it down, and now Devi has no refresher. That was both of the perseverances on that Courier, so he can sit there with the recipe in his backpack. That probably won't make him feel better, but you don't have that sort of double up on these abilities to work with at the exact moment where you see 4 Zoomers really looming large, trying to push them back into their own base and maybe setting up for the high ground push.
Yeah, they're closing off the gates. They're no longer letting Wildcard out onto the map, and really, now the lead is just going to kind of lengthen for them. They get these luxury items. You see their quick buys. They've got so much queued up, and they've got a ton of space to grow. If they get 100% of the map to just farm, everyone is just going to get everything they want. I can imagine there's the refreshers, the hexes, really kind of everything in the bag. They're just not going to be able to hold on at that point. I think Wildcard, as soon as these buyback statuses are up, they need to make a play because they are getting crushed right now. They're getting crunched in their base. They're only really getting the scraps of what gets pushed into them. At the very least, they have 2 good lanes still for farming, but this bottom wave is always going to be a sore thumb.
Well, we'll see what they can try to do here. They at least still have the cheese, so there's going to be some sort of benefit, but they waited out the Aegis. Gunnar no longer having 2 lives, and they didn't lose anything that they hadn't lost already. That bottom lane of Rax was taken quite a while ago by Husky, so they don't have really farming access while they waited that one out, but now they don't have to deal with the Aegis. I don't really know if that's worthwhile, but it's something at least that they can try to work with.
No, they're definitely just biding their time here, but at the same time, if 4 Zoomers strike right now, if they have another smoke, they can still catch them a minute out on their buybacks, but we might see kind of the low and steady little peter towards 60 minutes, and honestly, the next Roche respawn, because nobody is really making any aggressive moves until now. Okay, let's see it. They've got, I think, a minute and 18 seconds on the important heroes cooldowns. Oh, Sammy boy.
Okay. It's gonna sound the alarm just that little bit, but 4 Zoomers are still hanging out in the area. Gunnar's going to push his way forward. That's a quick kill. He crits for nearly 1,500. Okay, that's very fair. Sammy taken down, and now they're in onto Divine Llama as well. Moo did get sort of trapped over on the other side of that hill, but it's not going to matter. He pops the BKB, survives through the damage. Divine Llama's the one to get taken down, and now they're on to Esk as well. He's looking for the BKB TP, but there's just too much damage there. Gunnar with that right-click build just burns through him. Esk is dead. Buyback's not available for about 40, 50 more seconds, so Four Zoomers may have found their moment. If they can push in onto the high ground right now, they can absolutely get the middle lane of Rax. Don't know about swinging for another lane beyond that point, but at this stage, they can't actually get into the base yet. Their creep wave is so far behind, and this is going to slow things up significantly by precious seconds for those cores on the wildcard side to maybe get their buybacks back up and running.
Yeah, they might have missed at least their easy opportunity. We are going to fall into that slightly awkward timing for Wildcard where they don't really have the most appropriate response here. They can't just slam another buyback, but they also can't really risk getting Megas here because if they are not careful, they are going to get their buildings flooded. And at the same time, okay, they're okay with throwing away Esks, but do they...
Oh, that's just... that's not fair. Double Sleight of Fist, it just kills him. Sammy's just dead every time, so he does have his buyback available, but he has to stay so far away from that Ember now that I don't know if he's ever really going to be close enough to dish out some of that damage from his own abilities. And all the while, the racks are still falling. Middle lane was taken in its entirety, tier 3 top is now down, and another buyback gets forced out as Devi used his, so Wildcard really starting to run low on just lives at this point. Manpower becoming a bit of an issue for them.
Yeah, and Four Zoomers assume no risk. They let the Treants do it, they let the Illusions do it, and then suddenly you're up 2 racks now and you get to sit on the high ground while your opponents are scrambling for a play. I think really just getting those 2 picks, they're committing their BKB so early on Devi and Esk because they need to. It's been kind of the pump fakes from Moo, but if Moo is always forced to pop his BKB second, then he just wins the fight. They don't have enough control for him. They need to find him with really a Blink Abyssal and then another Toxin on top of it. So without that, this happens, and Gunnar is just nearly killing Alexo. And there's nothing you can really do here except for almost watch as Manta dodge, but at the same time, your range Rax is just getting whittled down, and it's next on table.
Sammy?
Oh. Okay, he's back.
Tried to go on a bit of a vision mission there. Doesn't work out for him, but buyback is going to be deployed, but at least buyback status is even thinner overall. There's one on Alexo. There is one on Yamsun, and that's it. Everything else is on cooldown for quite some time, so if you're 4 Zoomers... well, I was going to say, do you go in right now? Because we're only 35 seconds away from Roche. I'm not sure if they know that for sure, but they could just be holding out, recognizing it's got to be coming up sometime soon, and if they could take one last Aegis into their hands before they make this final push, or potential final push, would make things quite a bit easier for them. But you also open up the path. If you go for Roshan, Wildcard could try to contest. It would be a mad dash to the pit, and there would be no subtlety whatsoever in that maneuver. But do you take that risk at all, or do you just sort of keep the siege up?
I'm also looking over at Yamsun, who I believe is trying to buy a refresher right now. I think that's his courier over in the trees, but at the same time, they're nervous. They're running around back and forth. They don't feel like they can leave this Rax right now because Husky has done, again, such a fantastic job when it comes to scouting out. I think the nerves are at an all-time high right now, and if they try to breach right now into 4 Zoomers, Moo's right here. He's ready. They have the vision. This is really an impenetrable area for them, and I think they do get the refresher on Troll. That's 2 BKBs, 2 Abyssals, 2 Battle Trances, but we still need to see that huge execution. That's double refresher. Devi has his as well, so this is a huge fight that they need right now, and
no! He missed. Spear is not going to connect. The arena's still there, but Cristobal, there's no one there to lock him down. They're at least going to get Gunnar, though. Big kill on the backside, but Gunnar, he's pissed. He's back in. Clicked on the shop, sorry. Back into the fight, taking down Sammy, looking for more, but he's going to get rooted up. He was hexed as well, still trying to fight in onto Alexo, though, but while that's happening, Cristobal has been isolated. He is trapped inside a second arena, but he's going to fight his way through this. Divine Llama gets taken down. Yamsun now in trouble. No ult as he had already expended it, and that's it. Wildcard, GG out. If they get that first stun with the spear, maybe that fight goes differently, but as it stands, 4 Zoomers are able to survive. Does cost them a couple of their buybacks to get back into it, but they just have overwhelming force once that initial initiation doesn't work out.
Yeah, just really well played. I think for Zoomers, just a vice grip. They were just incredibly efficient at what they needed to do. They kept their opponents really at arm's length. I think Esk specifically struggled heavily in this game. For a while there, it felt like he was doing exactly what he needed to. He was playing second fiddle to Yamsun, who was kind of just carrying his team for the longest time there. But then the split push comes in, the creep waves don't make it to the base, you struggle to find your way onto these objectives, and then for Zoomers just kind of play this obnoxious playstyle where they never give you that honest fight, and when they do, it's because Costabile is finding an initiation, he's finding a pickoff at the beginning, and then you suddenly lose a bunch of your momentum. I think kind of uncharacteristically of Devi in this game, there were 2 or 3 instances where your moment is missed. You drop the ball, you use your BKB early, you get picked off, and then it kills your team's momentum, especially when Esk isn't on a playmaking mid, as we see with actually a lot of teams. As soon as you have that playmaker just forced on one of your players, unless they really, really step up, you can just lose everything in just a few moments. And I think that's where for Zoomers, it's not like they had the safer draft. It just feels like there were more players just doing plays. They were just making efficient moves across the map, and then they kind of win solely because of that. Because that was 3 Aegises that ended up in Wildcard's hands, well, until Gunner happened. But at the same time, they definitely had the initiative, but just once you got into that kind of late mid game, they just dropped it with those 1 or 2 situations.
Yeah, as the game went on, they became more and more reliant on the Mars pretty much exclusively to make plays. Sammy and Alexo, they really didn't get to do a whole lot. There wasn't much in the way of initiation from them, and as Gunner picked up more and more strength with that sleight of fist play, it wasn't even just initiation. They just couldn't live in any of these engagements. So you're getting punished on the back line. Your front line is comprised of basically Mars and Mars alone, and up against 4 Zoomers, who, as you said, had plays coming out from multiple different positions. It really just leaves you kind of one-dimensional for Wildcard.
Yeah, and well, new patch, new series, new teams. Well, we'll have to see what happens next, because this was typical. And of course, it's going to stay typical for a little bit here, but again, as stuff gets figured out, you're going to see it here first.
Yeah, we are not done yet. The NA boys are done. Congratulations to 4 Zoomers for the 2-0 sweep, but we are moving back over to the South American side of things. We've got ourselves Thunder Awaken now, no longer Predator. My brain hasn't been able to quite get that one, but they are Thunder Awaken now, taking on APU King of Kings. So we are going to see if the South American squads, now with a little bit more time to maybe look over the patch notes, do some more testing, we'll see if they come out with anything innovative. Is that the word I want to use? Not really sure. Something new to show us here. So we will be moving into that series in about 10 or 15 minutes here. Thunder Awaken versus King of Kings coming up next.